This is the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show at the 8th annual Johnny Ramone tribute at the beautiful Hollywood Forever Cemetery with the amazing Shepard Fairey. Shepard, now you love coming out to these Ramones events.
I do.
Tell me what the connection is.
Well, I've been a Ramones fan since 1984, and I did the logo for the Johnny Ramone Army, which was a huge honor to get to do. I'm friends with Linda, I'm friends with John Cafiero, the manager, and yeah, pretty much, so many of the people that are involved here. I've done work with Steve Jones, with Henry Rollins, so, it's punk rock changed my life, so it's amazing to be here and be, just be down with the scene.
Now tell me how you feel about Elvis.
It's funny, when I was a kid, my parents were really into Elvis, and, I liked some of Elvis's tunes, but then when I got into punk rock, I was like, no Elvis. But then I got into the Dead Kennedys. The Dead Kennedys cover Viva Las Vegas. Yeah. And then, I actually slowly began to really like a lot of Elvis stuff. I mean, when you think about his early stuff, it was really rebellious, and he's a great singer, and the Clash are knocking off the first Elvis cover with London Calling. So I grew to love Elvis after I got over my sort of generation gap and genre fascism, those ideas. How can you not like Elvis? It's just it's good music.
Well, and also recently they had the candlelight vigil, 35 years, I guess Elvis has been dead. He died August 16th, 1977. And it's amazing, I've heard that there were so many people there. It just goes to show that his music and his persona are still touching the lives of many people.
Yeah, I mean, Elvis and the Beatles are pretty much, the things that I think are going to be the Bach and Mozart for the next hundreds of years. Certain people just resonate. It doesn't matter what class, what race, anything, what religion. People dig Elvis, and he just had something special that's very hard to put into words, but you know it when you hear it and see it. I mean, he had it in the way he conducted himself as well.
And what do you think is special about the Ramones and their legacy?
I mean, the Ramones for me are there's that whole do it yourself, come from Queens and working class, but at the same time a love of pop music, the Phil Spector stuff from the '60s, and it's aggressive and sweet at the same time, which sounds maybe contradictory, but the way it comes together is for me just like perfect music. And my parents were cool with the Ramones, and my most anarchic friends are cool with the Ramones. I mean, that's rare. My 7-year-old loves Ramones. When my 7-year-old daughter Vivian met Linda Ramone, she sang Rockaway Beach start to finish a cappella.
That's amazing. Well, the Ramones, it is sing-along music. It is a good time music.
Yeah, it is.
But at the same time, it's very aggressive. I think that's what made the Ramones so great, is that they packed a punch in so many different musical ways.
And there's a sense of humor that is, in some ways, it's the humor is a wink to the subversive. To say, we're a happy family. That's a very subversive song. It's saying, there's a dark underside to the Norman Rockwell American dream concept.
Recently, I saw a documentary about Banksy.
Yeah.
About a gentleman that kind of followed you around and followed Banksy around for a few years and then started his own art project. Tell me about that, how you feel about that whole movie.
A lot of people think the movie's a hoax because Banksy is such a provocative, conceptual artist, but the movie's actually all real. What happened was I introduced Banksy to Terry, Mr. Brainwash, in 2005, and I warned him that Terry was probably not capable of making a film, but Terry, he's charming and he insinuates himself, and he's so aggressive about insinuating himself in your life that I know I felt this way, and I think Banksy did too. If you can't beat him, join him. Just let him tag along. And So what Banksy did was he figured out a way to have the footage that Terry shot see the light of day by making Terry the subject of the documentary instead of having him or me be the subject of the documentary, but being able to tell our stories while telling Terry's story. So, you know, it's fascinating because, you know, Terry's a unique person. Street art, you know, has had this amazing evolution from completely underground to being sold in galleries, and it all sort of was intertwined and happened simultaneously. So what Banksy was able to do was cover a lot of different aspects of that scene, from, you know, people struggling in obscurity to Terry creating this spectacle, and you know, in a way, he's able to critique the hype and the spectacle of what Terry's done with that film, and tell his own story at the same time. So that's pretty brilliant to be able to do those two things in one film.
Do you feel like an iconic artist?
No, I just feel like someone that struggles every day to come up with new stuff, and loves that I have the opportunity to make art for a living. But I think the moment you start to think about yourself in, you know, whatever the terms that other people might think about you in, it's dangerous. You're going to second guess your instincts, and you're going to be paralyzed by it. So I just live one day at a time, and whatever I'm inspired by, I just let that be natural.
Do you think the process is what makes you humble or keeps you humble? The fact that you are working towards this, it's never like a done deal?
Yeah, I mean, especially now with the internet, there's plenty of people that are going to keep you in check. Yeah. So, you know, for me, you know, I guess the silver lining of the negativity that comes with the internet is that I say to myself, well, at least I'm the one who's the subject of the mudslinging. I'm not the one sitting on the sidelines slinging the mud. But I feel like there's nothing better than being able to be creative for a living and have people react to what, you know, I do, and so whether the reaction's positive or negative, you know, that I'm doing stuff that people want to comment on, you know, that's validation. I
think, man, I have to give you props, bro. Your Obey clothing line is just off the chain. Okay, no, and I'll tell you, I just went back to Orange Coast College. You know where that is,
yeah.
in near Newport Beach.
Yep.
Every kid is wearing one of your shirts.
I've made homemade t-shirts since I was 14, 15 years old, and you know that now it's at the level it is where things I make, a lot of people are wearing them. It's yeah, it's pretty surreal. You know, I started making shirts because a lot of the bands or the skateboard companies, I couldn't afford to get their stuff, or it wasn't available in South Carolina where I grew up. So in some ways it's ironic that I started, you know, making my own stuff because I wanted something that you couldn't get, and now I make stuff so that other people can get it and don't have to make it themselves. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I should be encouraging people to make more of their own stuff. But that spirit, I think, comes through in what I do. And you know, I use t-shirts as just another canvas for you know, graphics that talk about the culture I love, whether it's punk rock or hip hop or the politics I believe in or the social causes. So, you know, it's art, I think, normally is too confined to galleries and museums, elitist, you know, areas, and you know, I want it to be more part of the, you know, the pop culture, the public domain, and that's what I'm going for.
What are you working on right now?
I'm working on a show that I'm doing in London, and it's called Sound and Vision, which is David Bowie. Yep, and you know, a lot of the art that I do is inspired by music, so a lot of that art has lyrical references, you know, art album cover stuff that really is inspired by music. The great thing about music, it's so democratic, and you can just listen to the melody, listen to the beat, and then if you like it, then you're going to pay attention to what it has to say lyrically. And I try to do the same thing with visual art. Seduce people with a striking visual, and then they care about what I have to say. So there's a lot of overlap, I think, between my approach and the approach that a lot of musicians use, and I'm very inspired by music. So that's what the show's about.
Shepard, who's hot right now musically? Who's new, up and coming, that you think this is great, this is going to be big, or just something cutting edge?
Well, you know, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff that I like. I wish there was more brand new stuff that I thought was really great. I think in a sort of a novelty sense, this group, Die Antwoord, is pretty awesome. They're like a South African kind of a techno rap group, but you know, really. In the indie rock world, I like the Black Keys a lot. I like Jack White. I liked the White Stripes. But I like Santee Gold. I like MIA. But I wish there was more new stuff that I think had that. You know, had that the spirit of the Ramones or the spirit of the Clash or the Sex Pistols. But I like. Off Keith Morris's new group.
Yeah, I did a 2-hour sit down with Keith. It was amazing, and yes, that is amazing because how can this guy rock that hard and bring it back? You know.
Yeah. So, you know, Off is still doing great stuff. Suicidal Tendencies has got a new record in the works that sounds really good. I heard a couple tracks from that. So, you know, it's cool. There's new people and there's older people that are sticking with it. But the good thing now is that, you know, the internet has made it really easy for people to get their work out there. The bad thing is that it's hard to sell records. But, you know, there's the yin and yang with everything.
What do you think about this idea? What would you think of Adele collaborating with the Black Keys?
You know, I think she's really talented, and I think the Black Keys are you know, really soulful. You know, I could actually see that happening.
Me too.
You know, because you know the garage rock side of soul, and then the more, you know, singer-songwriter side of soul. I could see that happening, and you know, I'm not a genre fascist anymore. I like good music is good music. I like a lot of different genres of music, so I actually think that could be amazing.
I came up with that idea. It came to me when I woke up.
Points on the back end right here.
Thank you. Shepard Fairey, you are an amazing human being. I appreciate your art. I appreciate Obey. It is amazing. And can I say amazing enough? No, I can't. All right, blaring out with Eric Blair with Shepard Fairey at the 8th annual Johnny Ramone tribute at the beautiful Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Signing off.
The Blaring Out Show.